There we go. So, Katy, you were talking about your nonprofit background and what got you into the outlet and how that got you into reselling.
Yeah, I mean, I dabbled in it kind of as a side hobby for years. I collect movies. I used to collect movies a lot, like VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray. Worked at a record store for a lot of years, and so I did it kind of as a not so much a cycle, just more like, oh, I'll put this out of print DVD and flip it on Amazon to support my own collection. When I found the whole Adidas outlet thing and realized I could actually make money and maybe make a living doing it, it was super exciting because the collector mentality I have, I get to put that to use when I go out sourcing, when I go out thrifting, trying to find a really cool t-shirt or something that's super rare that I can buy for $100 or $100. So it's just it's something I love to do and really passionate about.
So hi, I'm Vikki. I started selling in 1998, more as a hobby. I was a collector and was selling obscure band stuff from the 80s. I'm a huge and avid hairband music lover. And back in the early days of eBay, it was very easy to find source very rare items. And it was so cheap and nobody was really shopping on eBay yet. So I fed my collection a little bit that way. But my background is that I was a mortgage broker for 15 years, and I worked I worked in finance and I was in sales, and I loved it. I loved my job, and I also ran a couple of multi-million-dollar nonprofit organizations that I had actually founded and ran back east. That was volunteer, so I worked full time and did that full time, only being paid for one of them. And the banking industry crash happened in 2008, 2009. Most of the people that did what I did lost their jobs. They lost everything. For me, I was so cheap that my mortgage was small and I didn't lose my house like a lot of people did. But I had been selling part-time online at that point. And in some cases, people would have considered it a full-time income. But it was really just part-time for me. When the mortgage industry went belly up, I said, I'm going to try to do this full-time. And I did. And so from 2009 on, I full-time, and I have not had a job since then. And I don't think I'm hireable anymore, is what I say. I think I'm practically filled. I don't think I could work for another human being ever again. However, I love working for myself, and we talked about having backgrounds in nonprofit. So for me, mine was all about volunteerism and being able to give back to the community. And that community specifically was working burn survivors, people that had been burned in fires. And because that was volunteer, I really wanted the type of job or career that gave me the flexibility to do as much as I wanted with volunteering. I travel 2 weeks of the year to go and volunteer at different, camp. I'm a camp counselor at a children's camp for burn survivor children, and that's a week out of the year. And every October, I also go and I do reconstructive makeup for survivors at an annual burn survivor conference that is held in different major cities all over the country every year. And having a real job allowed me the freedom to do that and be able to give back. And both of those things are all volunteer. So most people, if you're lucky, you get a week or two of vacation. And being able to just do that and not need to spend time with family or to do a family vacation or something. Not a lot of people have that flexibility. So for me, be able to sell full time and pay my bills and keep the roof over my head, but also afford me the flexibility to do what feeds my soul, which is the volunteerism. That was super important to me. And I can't think of very many jobs that allow you that type of freedom and flexibility.
No.
So for me, that's what I've done, is just built my business as much as possible in order to be able to fuel the other things that I really love to do. I love reselling too. I love them both. Really, I love my job. I love what I do. I love, being able to work with my wife at home every day and being able to give back to the community, the reselling community, in the way that we do with teaching and I don't know, being meeting leaders or whatever you want to call it. So, being a reseller has really just opened up so many different worlds and horizons to me. It's not just buying somebody's old junk at a yard sale and selling it and making a profit. There's so much more to it than that.
Yeah, Vikki and I are definitely we're on the same page with that. And it's what definitely brought us together in the first place. And, we do, like with what she was saying with the team, it's like we both need a very deep need to have something bigger than ourselves and be giving back in some way. And so I volunteer a couple of days a month at a law firm here in town, working on pro bono cases, kind of centered around people who are in prison and And so being able to do that and take that time away from my work, like, yeah, you can do that if you work for someone else. You'd be able to say, like, I got to take a day off every other week and go do this other thing. But
nope.
but we have that freedom, ability to do that. And it's like, sometimes we have to work really long days. I have to work extra days in the week. But when opportunities come up, we're able to take that time to do whatever.
Okay. And I think an interesting that I think a lot of people don't get to experience that you guys both brought up is getting to work together and doing the whole running my business alongside my partner. Although you guys do have separate stores and you do your own thing, but you also get to help each other out.
That's just so we don't kill each other.
We honestly have
smart spouses.
We have the best of both worlds because we don't have to do it alone, but we get to do it alone at the same time.
We both had our own business when we met.
Yeah.
So combining the two to do it together when we both have very different ways of doing would never have worked well for us.
And both think that our way is the best way. And so
it is.
Exactly. But at the same time, I joke, but at the time I always tell Vikki, when we met and got together, we didn't necessarily really know what the other person was like as a worker. And so how hard it would have been if one of us was just really terrible at reselling and terrible at our job, or didn't have a work ethic. And what we found is that we're very much the same page when it comes to how we approach our businesses and how we prioritize our businesses and what we choose to put our energy into. And so that really works for us. If we have slightly different ways of how we operate our businesses, we're very much in sync with how we think it should be done.
Interesting. And how did you guys identify either in each other or in a group of your circle, what attributes best fit your support circle that you needed to grow?
So for us, when we first met, we were just acquaintances that both happened to be resellers. And as Katy mentioned, I think the nonprofit thing was a big, deep conversation that we had early on that kind of just found something in common with one another in that way. And that's not saying that a lot of people get on that type of level, something as such as volunteerism and being part of a community bigger than yourself and giving back to society. Not everybody does that. Human beings by nature are inherently selfish, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're all self-centered. We're all a little bit selfish. We're all about ourselves and our families and our loved ones and our immediate family. That's human nature, and there's nothing wrong with that. But finding another person that feels as strongly about giving back is pretty rare.
I'd agree.
So I think that was something that really drew us together personally. And then, we've talked about before about, reseller community and it's so wide and so vast and there's so many different personalities. I think the fact that we're resellers in general brings you together on some common ground. But once you make that common ground and you get to know people deeper level, then find if your values and your morals align on top of that. Mm-hmm. And that's where you form the real friendships and the real relationships. I have a million acquaintances. I also have a pretty large number of close friends. That's just who I am. But, not everybody is on the same level, and that's also normal.
It's natural for people to be drawn to other people who have common interests, whether it's we like the same kind of music, we like the same kind of art, we have the same sense of humor.
We like sport teams.
Yeah, right. And that's what's going to attract you to people when you very first get to know them. But as you get deeper into it and you do go, you think about what is to you. And for me, a lot of it is integrity, loyalty, consideration of others. To me, I'm looking for people who I think are authentic, who I think care about other people and care about other people succeeding. And so when I meet those people and have common interests and they make me laugh, I like when they make me laugh. I also like it when I make them laugh. So that's important, that shared sense of humor. But when you do get deeper into it, I need to see that level. And if I, interact with somebody and I see they're not at that place with me, then I'm probably going to keep at that acquaintance spot, if that.
Yeah, the authenticity and integrity are two big things for both of us, I think, as far as getting to know people on a deeper level or having them be within your closer circle. I just, love and hate us. We are who we are. And we've had people tell us many times when they meet us in person after watching us on YouTube or whatever, saying, oh, I feel like I already know you. Well, you do.
Right.
And what we show on YouTube is who we are. And I think we're both very transparent in that way, and we try to be authentic. And it's okay if you don't like me. I'm perfectly fine with that. Give me a chance. But if you get to know me and you like me, okay, that's fine. Not everyone else. I may not like you, whatever.
Right.
But I do think being transparent and authentic and not putting on any type of affectation or a persona or trying to be something you're not. I think that can draw people in originally, but it absolutely turns people over, and it's over a period of time. And I think it always wants to. I think inauthenticity shines through.
I definitely agree. And I think having known you guys for the time I've known, like one of the things I respect is that unlike some others in our field, you're consistent about this is what we want to do. This is why we're doing it. This is our purpose. And regardless of whether this is how many subscribers on you have, or this is what sales are, or this, it's still consistently, it's cliche, but actions speak louder than words. So a lot of people can say what they want on a screen, but I feel like you guys follow it up with, hey, look, the proof is in the pudding. This is what we're passionate about. This is what we want to do. So this is what we're going to do, regardless of whether we have subscribers, we have sales skyrocket.
Whether we're popular or not, it doesn't necessarily have to be about clicks and views and stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I respect anyone that has that hustle. But for us, it's always, like you said, it's a bigger thing. We both pride ourselves also on being very inclusive. And that's deliberate and intentional. I think that there are, like anything else in this world, there are cliques and there are people that think that they are above others. And I don't like that. True. I do like that mentality. I don't appreciate it from anyone, whether you are or you aren't. I don't care if you are a $100 a year seller or a $5 million a year seller. We are all the same people.
Right.
And I don't think one person is any better than others. And everyone deserves a voice, like you say. Everyone deserves a voice. Everyone deserves a seat at the table. Everyone deserves respect. And
definitely.
I think we're very deliberate about that in the way that we approach the community in general.
At the time, at least for myself, it's like when you are an entrepreneur or own your business like this, it can be a very rocky road. It's very up and down, and time is very precious and limited. So, when it comes to creating those deep friendships and those people that you're going to go a lot deeper with, at least for me, I am very selective who I'm going to tap much deeper with, because I need to be people who I know and count. And but everyone's going to get that respect from day one, and I'm going to love to be, hey, I'll be your reseller friend. I'll be there for you. I'll if you need help something, I'm going to be there for you. But it's going to take something else to get even further than that. It's going to take me being able to see that we're on the same level with what we value. Not that what I value is more important than anybody else. It's just who I'm going to let into my life that I'm going to.
You wouldn't fly across the country for just anybody.
Right.
True.
Well, I think that's for anybody who listens, live under a rock, you're not familiar with the Boston Reseller remix. That was one thing that I'll probably forever be grateful for, is that entrepreneurism, as we all know, is a very lonely thing to do. So on top of other issues that we all deal with in life, it kind of takes it that next level. And so it's one thing to watch on YouTube and you go, well, yeah, I do too. And okay, I could do that. Or, it seems relatable, but then after a while, I go, well, why am I not having that success? Or why do they get this? And why am I struggling to the minimum, it feels like, and that bringing the community together kind of goes back to what we're talking about with the actions. It speaks so loudly to, I think, the people that you guys are, that that's what I appreciate. And because being a father and working a daytime job and that kind of my time. So the need to connect to people who understand the like minds is critical, but it's I don't have a lot of time. So to find people that I feel like, I let my guard down.
You can connect with.
Yeah, they understand. They understand. They're going through the same thing.
Yeah, and if time is valuable, everybody's time is valuable. But I mean, especially when that has so many juggling, so many different roles as you are, if you're going to invest your time and your money and your precious time in attending something like a reseller conference or convention or come to meetups like we do, you better be getting something out of it. It better be not just wasted time and wasted days. Feel like you're not being heard or you're not getting your net or questions answered or anything like that. So I think that we're very deliberate, as our partner Teresa is well, very deliberate, making sure that we recognize and spend money anywhere, and that we don't take that lightly. We want to make sure that you get your money's worth and you on your investment as far as learning and connecting people. We just really want to make sure that everybody walks feeling like they got something out of it.
Yeah, and I think you guys do a really good job, because I think that there's obviously different reseller conferences and things that out there, but what I think either makes or breaks is the content of the people there. because you can cover, there's only so many different categories and there are different perspectives, which I think are imperative to success, but it's the quality of the people. It's the people that are there, and like we talked about, connecting people, having a diverse group, having people who are new, having people who are experiencing, people who have been an entrepreneur for 20 plus years and the one who started 3 months ago. There's a lot of different journeys. And so there's, I think, a lot of different people that you have a chance to connect with. You're not going to connect with everybody, but that opens a lot of doors for those people who is like, am I out here by myself? Like, am I the only one? And so I think that's a huge thing, I know, for somebody like myself at Boss Reseller.
Oh, that means a lot, actually, hearing that. We very much try with intention to make sure that everybody feels seen and heard. And it's hard to do when you get a few hundred people in a room and it's only 2 or 3 people, only 2 or 3 people that this whole thing together. And, you're running around trying to handle logistics and everything, but also trying to make sure that everybody is comfortable and somebody is not by themselves all day. And, a lot of people are shy. So, we try to make those connections, and we do have a handful of people that we will reach out to and be like, okay, so this person's sitting by themselves. Can you go sit with them? Go talk to them. And we did that last year. We did it before, and making sure that we connect some of our more outgoing friends with somebody that's quiet.
Yeah.
We know that they're good people, and get them in conversation and make sure that they don't feel they're invisible in the room. That's something that happens at every conference, not just reseller conferences. If you've ever been to a conference for business for any reason whatsoever, there's always the people that don't talk to anybody. I was one of the people before the reseller world. I would go to mortgage conventions. I would leave. I wouldn't talk to anybody most of the time. And I'm very outgoing and talkative, but I didn't feel like I had a connection with people.
And in our first couple of years, we were mostly relying on our connections with friends. We're a very small YouTube channel. Compared to a lot of these bigger ones have much bigger followers. We're really lucky that we have very good friendships with a lot of people who have much bigger followings. And so we're able to kind of call on some favors and be like, hey, this is this thing we want to do. Would you be willing to support us and help us out with this? And so our first year, especially, and then some of them came back the second year, we knew that we were bringing in people who did share values with us, that knew, like, okay, they get it the way that we get it. They look at things similarly to how we do.
They want to get the community too. They're not there trying to sell a course or something.
Right.
Yeah.
There are conferences like that.
FBA.
There are conferences like that.
And that's
and
okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
We want that, but we really are about, like, it's more about helping each other. It's more about elevating each other. And so this third year we're going into, we promised that we were going to bring all new speakers, but with that, we're bringing in a lot of people that we don't know as well. And so we're making really explicit with them when we spoke with each speaker that was coming this year, and be like, there's some expectations, and one of them is to really be mindful and respectful of the fact, as Vikki was saying earlier, that these people, especially the ones specifically for you, they are spending money. They're taking the time away from their work. Some of them are doing it and they barely can afford to do it. And it's all because maybe they want to see you. And so we really need you to understand that and be mindful of that, and make sure that you are present. You're not just here to, party in Vegas. You're here to hang out with your YouTube friends. And again, this is nobody specific at all. This is just wanted to be very explicit about with each person and say, just want to make sure you understand that you need to be mindful of that, because we really want people. We don't want somebody to come across the country, meet somebody that has inspired them, and then not get an opportunity to speak with them, not have
or feel like they were dismissive or I don't know. It hasn't happened yet. So, but
this is just us trying to be, again,
we're trying
to be very intentional.
Exactly.
We want to make sure that nobody comes in and has a terrible time. Again, some people are super outgoing. Some people are very shy, and it might need somebody to push them and say, hey, what's up? What are you doing?
I think, sometimes it's for those who are not as comfortable being out of shell. It's that. And so to me, I can respect that mindset of, hey, like, you need to make sure they're getting some, like, the best can. Obviously, people are only going to take what they want out of something.
And what they put into it.
You can lead a horse to water.
Right. You got to have some effort on your part too. I mean, you can't pull the teeth the whole time. But, if you're willing to meet people and talk to people, you're never going to walk away without gaining friends. Even you, the first year you came, our first year was relatively small, and it was our friends that were speaking, and mostly our followers and friends came and bought tickets to support us and come. So there were really only a very small handful of people that we did not know in some manner, and you were one of them. And I heard about it on Ryan and Ali's show, or some people heard about it on Instagram or brought to it. And you were, smart enough to recognize that, this is here in my town. I should probably do this.
Definitely.
This is a good opportunity, especially if you live here in Vegas. I mean, there's really no reason not to, honestly. You
And
drive home every night.
There's no other one either. Like that was the thing that I was, dude, it's in the time, like I have to go. I feel like a chance to connect with people. Like I'm a big believer in trying to connect or, surrounding yourself with like-minded people.
Hey, people that are better than you and elevate you. You want to,
and they'll understand. And it's like, because to me, actually, having gotten into reselling, it's like, there are very few people who everybody's heard of reselling or entrepreneurism, obviously, but very few people who like truly get it. Like the mental toll, the physical toll, it can
that it's a real job.
Yes, it's not.
So many people like, what do you like selling used baby clothes on eBay? How is that sustainable? Are you making a living? Can you pay your bills?
Yeah, made more than you last year.
And they really do look. A lot of people that do not know anything about this business do look down on it. They do denigrate it. I've been doing it for a very long time, and I tell this story every once in a while. My brother and sister-in-law are Amazon sellers, and they've only been doing it for about 4 years, and they're doing millions on Amazon. Amazon FBA, they just bought a third house. I mean, they're killing it. They have a whole staff. They have a whole FBA fulfillment center in their own home, one of their homes. But I've been doing this for 20 years, and for the first 15 years I was doing this, my brother was like, I was on food stamps. Like he never believed in anything I was doing. They thought it was some kind of weird thing. They didn't really get it. And then they decided to jump on the Amazon bandwagon, and they're all self-taught. By the way, never bought a course. They didn't follow anybody. Don't do social media.
I think they're just doing it to make us look bad.
Seriously. Within the first year, he had quadrupled my highest ever. I was, okay, now you get it.
Thanks, jerk.
Yeah, thanks can be looked bad from mom now. But I'm so proud of them. But like for the longest time, nobody got what I did. And now that they're doing really well, now my mother actually thinks this is a business. But for all the years of me doing it,
Mike.
Right.
Thanks, bro. Now it's okay because he does too. But for years, people don't they don't really get it. And unless you know someone else that's doing it or you find other friends that do it, I mean, it's a pretty lonely world. And having to always feel like you're justifying your job or your life or your income is difficult. Let's face it, most people that get into selling originally get into it because they cannot do a 9-to-5 job for one reason or another.
Yeah.
And that's where we talk about the mental health thing. Sometimes it's still health reasons, sometimes it's physical health, sometimes you're caring for children at home, or you're caring for disabled children or other family members, or caring for aging parents, whatever. Whatever
you have
anxiety,
anxiety,
you have, right, and in health reasons, you can't, function in a day-to-day job, or, whatever it may be. Most people get to this for that reason or some reason thereof. And it's really common when you start talking to people, because we're pretty open on our show with the way that we talk about this. And I'm sure you've heard it. We talk about I suffer from PTSD and chronic anxiety and depression. And there's no shame in that. And millions of other people that do as well. But for me, a 9-to-5 job at this point in my life, I don't think is possible. Not just because I'd be fired immediately. I don't think I could do that because some days you just need to take a mental health day, and you cannot do that necessarily with a 9-to-5 job. Right. And with what we do, some days all I can do to get out and do my shipping, and then I go back to bed. And I allow myself one day. When in those moments, it happens. Always. I try not to dwell on it, but I allow myself one day. And sometimes she'll be like, okay, did you get some stuff listed today? And all overwhelmed, I can't get anything done. And you know how it is. My head will spin out. And she'll be like, okay, you already did your shipping. You've already got listed. Go to bed. And I don't really go to sleep. I'll go in bed and watch trash TV or I read a book or I do something because that's my sanctuary, is my bedroom. But it allows me to decompress. I could not do that with a 9-to-5 job. Right.
I think that's what it's funny because when my wife and I first got together, she'd always ask, well, why do you always watch the same stuff? Because I already know the outcome. My mind doesn't.
There's no anxiety.
Yeah, there's no what's going to happen? That's why I can't watch new stuff. That's why don't talk to me past a certain hour. With anything you find interesting. No, we need to have boring, mundane conversations because otherwise my mind's going to go, oh, hey, well, we could do this and this and this and this and that and that. And it's just very similar. It's like that 80. And I think as a society as a whole, I think depression, anxiety, just mental health disorders as a whole, yes, have been amplified, especially since COVID and kind of thing where a lot of people had to learn how to cope a different way from how they thought they could before.
Or different routines. Everybody's routine was screwed up. And people rely on routines, especially if you're neuro in some way.
Yes.
Or you're dealing with mental health issues. You develop coping mechanisms. You develop strategies, you develop routines and things that you do to keep yourself functional. Mm-hmm. If you are functional, if you're able to get to that point.
But your version of functional.
Your version of functional, whatever that is. And then when all of that is thrown out the window, it's really, really hard to find the motivation and the focus that has now been thrown out the window, and try to figure out a new way to do things. So, and one of the good things is that because of social media, social media has its good and bad points, but because of social media, I think people are, and the younger generations, the millennials, the zennials, Gen Z, whatever, all those millennials, they are way more conscious and talkative about mental health issues. And I think so important. The boomers weren't talking about it, right? Nope. It's just, they weren't talking about it. They were brushing it under the rug, and they all had the same issues. We all have. It's not new.
Nope.
It just, now we're more cognizant of it, and people talk about it, and it's more acceptable, and it's becoming more a mainstream conversation, as it should be.
Yeah. Because
people don't feel so isolated. They don't feel it's just me. I'm the only one that feels like this. No, you're not. No, you're not. There's millions of other people that have the same issues that you do.
Yeah.
And it's great to be able to talk about it with people, because it helps you find different coping mechanisms. It helps you feel that you're not alone. It helps you realize that you're not on an island.
Right, definitely. And I think, if you guys don't mind, like, what are some coping mechanisms that you guys have found have helped you in the moments where you go, I don't want to do this. I know I'm supposed to do this to grow my business, or I know I'm supposed to do that. I don't feel like it. Like, how do you guys overcome those hurdles for you personally? And what have you found works best for you?
I think for me, it's about, if I say it out loud and say, here's what I'm going to do, this is my plan, then I'm much more likely to follow through. I don't like change. I like doing things the same way. I like routines. I like having a set process, which can help a lot in this kind of job where you're working for yourself. I like to have, okay, when I do this, and then I do this, and a week looks like this, and me this task, and then this task. I like having that structure, and I like doing it a very specific way. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes, the market changes. It's changed the last couple of years. The thing I was doing, the way I was sourcing 5 years ago is completely different from how I source now. Even how I was sourcing 6 months ago is completely different from how I source now. And so the reality is that I have to change. I have to adapt. But for me, a lot of times it's just about sheer will. I'm one of those people where if I decide I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I just force myself out of my comfort zone, and I just have to make it happen. And probably the next step that I'm going to hate is getting onto Poshmark. And I'm just going to keep saying that I don't want to do it. But it really is about, just because I feel like something, if the only reason you're going to say this is because it makes you uncomfortable, then it's not a good reason. And so
that's the reason why you should say yes.
Yes. And I actually adopted that a long time ago, when I was in my early 20s. I kind of made a decision because I remember I had this big opportunity come up, and I was terrified, and I didn't want to do it. And then I told myself, okay, the only reason my reaction is to say no is because I'm scared of it. I have zero goods to say no. And so from then on, when I was asked to do something, and my first response was to say no, and it was because I was scared, I would say yes. And it's opened so many doors for me. And so I think for me, it really is just about pushing myself outside my comfort zone. And it's not to say I stick with the old routines that work well for me. I'm still keep doing that. I'm set in my ways.
Stubborn.
It's true. It's true. But the reality is, my work and how I operate business has gone through many changes in the last 6, 7, 8 years. And so that's proof right there that I am capable of change. It's just very difficult sometimes.
Yeah. So for me, it's kind of like I was just saying earlier. I have a routine. I have a certain routine. I have expectations. I'm a big list maker. I make a list at the beginning of the week. It's usually on Sunday or Monday morning. I'll make a list of all things I want to accomplish for the week. And I try to take a chunk of that every day. And some days it doesn't work, right? Some days you just got to throw the towel in and say,
yeah.
Some days you mentally cannot get your brain around the tasks that you need to accomplish, and you have to throw the towel in. There's no shame in that. And I think part of what we do as a society or in general, we're really hard on ourselves. We are much harder on ourselves than the other people are on us, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're reliant on for everything. So if you feel you're failing, or you feel like you are not meeting your goals, whatever those goals may be, and then you start to beat yourself up, and then it becomes the cycle of, I'm never going to be able to do this, I just won't. So you just give up.
Right.
And that's, in general, that's what a lot of people do. And I've been guilty of that many times in my life. So what I try to do now is make sure that I have a set schedule of things that I have to accomplish on certain days, or they may be. And then, like I said, some days I'm going to have a bad day. Some days it's, the mental health part is just going to take a toll. And over the years, my coping mechanism has been to not allow myself to have more than one day in a row of following, whatever that may be, whether it's depression or you're spiraling with anxiety, whatever it may be. I'm not someone that takes medication. There's no shame in that. But for me, I don't like the way it makes me feel. So mine has always been kind of mind over matter. Does it all the time? No, of course not.
Right.
Of course not.
Yeah.
But it was enough of the time that my coping mechanisms have been that I kind of just try to talk myself out of it. And if I'm able to do that, then I give myself a day, whatever that day is. Sometimes it's going to be go back to bed. Sometimes it might be I'm going to go get my nails done. I'm going to spend the day sourcing by myself because it calms me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I need to do. I just move myself from the situation. If everything is feeling overwhelming, then I'm just going to shut down. And as long as I don't allow myself to make that last too long, because then that's a problem. So one day, at most 2 days. But really it's just, and then I try to start fresh the next day and just try to let it go.
Well, and I think that, for people who follow us and who watch our YouTube channel, we're known for being very transparent. We talk about the good and the bad. Like I was saying earlier, sales have been rough lately. Like this last, I'd say year and a half, like it's been a real struggle and it's demoralizing. It's hard. And you're having to make some real changes, and we're having to really reconsider how we approach this business. And one of the things that we're doing, just yesterday, we have a regular Sunday show, and we just announced, we're kind of revamping how we're approaching that Sunday show. One of the things we're doing is we are being very deliberate and explicit about, here are the goals that we have for the next week. Here's what we want to accomplish. And we're inviting the people who are watching to join us in that, and saying on the screen, in the chat, in the comments. Say, what are your goals for this next week? It doesn't all have to be about work. It could be making personal time for yourself to take care of yourself. But saying what is it I want to accomplish this week? What am I going to try to do? How does I look? And then next week we're going to come back and we're going to report back on that. It may not succeed, but we're going to try and allow that to be a space where we can vocalize those things and hold each other accountable, but also support each other when we're maybe not doing so well, and celebrate when we are accomplishing what we want to accomplish. Because for me, it's a lot about once I say that out loud to other people, it gives me a drive, even if I don't necessarily want to follow through. Like Vikki was just gone to Nashville for days, and I like to apparently challenge myself to ridiculous things. And so I decided, first time she was out of town, I was like, I'm going to do 5 days of whatnot shows. It was,
God bless you.
Yeah. But it was a lot. It was a lot. And so this time I was like, all right, I'm going to do 5 days in a row. I'm going to go to the bins every single morning. I'm going to source at least 10 items that I think are worth picking up to sell. I'm going to process them, photograph them, measure them, and list them all the same day, all while doing a video and making the video live that night. And let me tell you, the 4th, 5th day especially, I was so miserable at the end.
I was so over
the 5th
it.
day especially, you watch that video, you can see how not for it I am.
Her face.
But I was at the bins and I didn't want to be there. And when you don't want to be there, it's the worst, because I could not leave, and I had to get those, and I wasn't just going to grab crap. I had something that I wouldn't want to grab, and it was awful. And
nobody was holding her accountable but her, by the way.
No, I said I was going to do
right,
this.
you
so
said
I'm
you're going to do it. You did.
But I was very open, with that video. I'm like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. I really, all I want to do right now is take a nap and be done with this, but I have to follow through. And
she will never again.
Oh, and it really was the most inefficient way of sourcing. Selling. It was a challenge. It was something that I challenged myself to. It was mostly fun.
I think for me, it's funny that you guys brought that up, because a lot of it is you're trying to grow a reselling business, and you see YouTubers, and you see these people go, how are you obtaining these numbers? I got to push myself. I got to keep up. If I want to grow my business, I got to do this. And for me, I know, I've known for years, you should set, pre-designated time. You're gonna do this, and you're gonna do this. And my ADD brain goes, yeah, man, we're gonna do this. Let's do it. And then a kid has a meltdown, or somebody wants to this, or they don't go to bed right on time,
so
or
it's a snack, or
it's
throws everything off.
It's like, dude, guys, hey, listen, remember all those nice things you enjoy? Okay, daddy's got to work. So for me, it's been a learning experience, I guess, is probably the best way. And I try to soak in as much as I can from other individuals, where it's okay, how can I relate to them? Because I think well, a recent study, like 25% of entrepreneurs in general, just even reselling, obviously, we all do, want more connection. And I think that's just fundamental. I think that's exclusive necessarily, but it's just such a fundamental element that I think a lot of people, and I just, like you talked about, I'm so hard on myself that I go, well, but I remember you got to get at least 5, like 5 to 10 things, in order to be full time, like that's the minimum. So like, if you want to grow, otherwise you're just going to be stagnant. And then what are you doing? And so I think that being able to find individuals who are relatable, who just go, oh, okay, I didn't know that, is just such a huge, like, I'll probably sound repetitive, but it's so huge, like, for everybody, to find somebody and understand how to recognize your wins. So like going, challenging yourself to win, you know what I mean? And a lot of us don't stop, go push myself this week.
Right. Don't recognize your achievements, celebrate yourself, and be find a circle of people to celebrate you too. Like that's so important. It's so important. When I feel like I'm beating myself up, and I felt that way a lot over this last 18 months. Growing our businesses the way that we did and putting up the numbers that we were doing in 2022 and 2021 and 20, of course, we all had the best years ever. But like putting up those great numbers to be at 40 to 50% of those numbers, 18 months later is kind of demoralizing. And I said in a show yesterday is that it makes me feel like I'm inauthentic trying to be a community leader and teacher if my sales suck too.
And like we're not worthy of saying we have something to impart to you.
Yeah, and that's that whole imposter syndrome thing, right? We all suffer from that in some manner or another. If you don't, then you're probably not being authentic with yourself or anyone else. But we all have the self-doubt, and the reality is that selling is a constant struggle. Some years are fantastic, some years are not. This is not a fantastic year. And have I been being in the effort that I have previous years? Not necessarily. Back to that.
We have so many, with Boss Reseller Remix, like we love this event. We think it's really important, but it takes a lot of our time. Yeah. And it does take that we would otherwise be focusing on our business. And so it does hurt our businesses. And so a constant struggle. We don't have children, but it's kind of like the Boss Reseller Remix is our child. And it's like,
it is our baby.
I think we've got something that, I know, okay. And I'm especially like, I have my routine to make me comfortable. And so I do get like frustrated. It's like, I know I'm gonna get these things done and I can't because I have to go deal with this. And I have to make sure this is happening, and I have to make sure I'm doing a certain number of social media posts a week.
And you do it.
See, you see what I go through here, guys?
Accountability.
I'm aware. But and it's like, so there's that constant, like this other thing I talk about, how I love the day in and day out of my everyday job. I love it from the minute I wake up. The Boss Reseller Mix, I love the event and I love parts about putting it on, but I don't have that same passion as far as like the logistical parts of putting it together.
The minutia. The busy work.
Yeah, the busy work. It's not as fulfilling the same way. Now, second, we get to the event and we are there experiencing it, seeing how it's impacting people, that's where it pays off. But when it comes to my reselling, that pays off every single day because I just love what I do and it makes me happy.
One thing too that a lot of folks, whether it's via YouTube, social media, reselling related or not, but a lot of people they buy into the idea of, oh, okay, wait for yourself, so that must be nice. And well, yeah, that's fine, but if an employee messes up, it's me. So I'm mad at myself.
I don't have a safety net.
Right, like I can't say lazy.
Yeah, you're not working, you're not making money. And I do think that you were talking about people being like relatable and transparent and authentic and that kind of thing. I think that's important. The good, the bad, the ugly, we talk about a lot, and we talk about, where we failed or this messed up or that messed up in the numbers, and sometimes they're terrible. Because I think that as a society, especially with social media now, we're all so used to seeing everybody's highlight reels.
Yes.
Everybody is, partly dressed and perfect hair and filters, and everybody looks fantastic. And there are only these trips I'm going on, and this is my pile of 75 packages going out in the morning. Well, you know what? Good for you if that's your life.
Right.
But that's not the reality of business for most people. And
most likely they're not showing you the rest of the stuff.
That's it. You're not seeing everything that goes into that. You're not either seeing all the work that goes into that to get packages out a day, or you're not seeing how much they spent on those 75 items. Maybe they're only clearing 10% profit on each item. it's all of these things matter. And it's really not comparing apples. But you know what the reality is that that's what we do as people. We look at, social media reels or YouTube or whatever it may be, and you look at somebody that thinks do better than you in whatever manner. This person's better looking than I. They have a nicer house, they have a nicer car. I'm reselling, and look at me, and I only see two things, and blah blah. So we beat ourselves up. We're constantly comparing ourselves to other people, and that's life. That's probably never going to change. We all do that in all manners of life, no matter what job you have. I do like to think it gets a little bit better as you get older. I do feel like I actually care a heck of a lot less now than I did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So there is something to be said for getting older. You give a few F's about things.
That's true.
But, I think that the reality check of being able to find people that you can really, connect with and learn from without feeling inferior is important.
Well, it matters when you meet those people who are willing to be vulnerable and are willing to tell you their weaknesses are, their mistakes that they make, or the struggle they're having. Because I think the people that aren't willing to share that, they're a little, as the youth of the day would say.
Yes. My kids would say, don't say it.
I'm sure there's some people out there who have it perfectly together and they grew up in a perfectly, emotionally healthy household. And they really don't
have no skeletons.
They really don't have anxiety. And I'm sure there are people out there that have.
I don't know any.
But I think far more common are the people who struggle, and the people who, no matter how well they're doing, are having a hard time. And the people who aren't doing well and are having a hard time, it's very damaging for them to feel like they're surrounded by people who are just killing it. Really, it's a lot of times just a facade. I grew up in the church. I grew up Baptist. And it was very much about I remember I loved Shirley Temples, and I remember I wanted to make them at home, so I asked my dad to get grenadines, and they didn't have any at the store, and I'm like, well, they have them at the liquor store, and I'm like, oh no, I can't go there. Even the appearance is evil. Like if somebody saw him coming out of this liquor store, and it was just like going to church, you're surrounded by these people who are all these perfect Christians. And when I was little, it's like that's what I thought reality was, that all these people had each other, they had it perfect, and it was like my family was kind of weird. They had all these issues, but none of those issues showed the church. It was all secret,
Yeah.
And then you get older and you realize,
face forward, your best
dress, everybody's hanging out. And I just think
everybody's family is dysfunctional. There's no such thing as a facade.
Putting out that facade is very, very damaging to people. I think the sooner we realize it is a facade, the easier it is for us to kind of heal and actually move on and just embrace who we are and then find ways of ourselves.
Amen. I grew up in church as well, and I think one thing I've always gone off of jokingly or in the HR world for day job, it's like everybody's crazy or has their issues. It's just how often they let it out and what extent, because we all have them. And it's about how you cope, how you deal, and that's where I feel like it's like we talked about. It's just not spoken about enough. Where that support system, that accountability partner, that
own your
whatever
stuff.
It is for you, it's just not, it's like, hey, this is where I got this stuff and this is how I sold it and how much. And okay, well, it's great. For 80% of people, it's like, I need, the knowledge is great, but the person, I need to know, how you dealt with screaming at your kid. Hey, look, dude, I got 20,000 things to do right now. Real life relationships. And that's what I feel like as entrepreneurs, we tend to neglect a lot. It's like, oh, what about my business? What about my business? I gotta do this, I gotta do this. The pressure. And we lose focus on the valuable part of life, which is relationships. Individuals.
That's why I think things like reseller conferences, like the Boss Seller Remix, or meetups, local meetups, and those types of things are so important. Because not everyone is going to connect with everyone else, right? We've already said that. But, if you are presented a group of like-minded individuals that you have something in common with, you get to know them a little bit better, and you're able to maybe find someone you connect with on a deeper level. Maybe you're going to find the other person that, also has 4 kids and supporting a household like you. Or, for us being an openly queer couple in the LGBTQ community, I didn't realize how important representation was until we started a YouTube channel, and there were so many people reached out to us, so many people that reached out to us saying it was so good to see this on a channel, and you have the same background and the same relationship that I had, and that blew me away. And so finding people that you connect with some level, whatever that level may be, is really important. And like you said, you talked about accountability partner. That's something that we talked about both years at the conference, and I'm sure we'll talk about it again this year. Finding another person that will hold you accountable for goals, and you can do the same for them. Be honest with each other. Honesty is huge. All right, I'm having a bad day. I'm having a bad day. This is not happening. I need to get this done, and it's not happening for me. Having another person to give encouragement, you can't both be having a bad day at the same time.
Right.
I mean, you can be, but it's probably not
highly unlikely.
But, you find one person that will help lift you up when you need it. Yeah. And that's really important. We have that not just with each other, but we have it with other friends in the community. We can reach out to somebody and they can reach out to us. If somebody's having a bad day, it doesn't have to be reselling related, business related. Right. Most of the stuff that affects our business and our day-to-day lives has nothing to do with their business. Outside interference stuff. Yeah. It's all the personal stuff, the household stuff, the spouse stuff, the kids stuff, the money stuff, whatever, all these outside influences. And being able to have a person, even just one person that gets you, that listens to you, that validates you, that helps encourage you, helps support you when you cannot support yourself is so important and so vital in being successful, whatever successful means to you.
Totally agree. I think that eventually that's the kind of thing I would love to do eventually, where most like we all from nonprofit backgrounds in some capacity, where a big brother, big sister, like where it's like, because a lot of people, if you're actually, like my wife, she's not a social buddy. She'll go, I don't know you. Yeah, okay, that's nice. You seem nice. We can stand next to each other, I guess, or but.
And I haven't met your wife, so
yeah, a lot of people struggle with that, and I think that you can find people who do have, like we talked about, that social personality where it's like, hey, I got you. Yeah, the connection I just cannot spoken about enough. I truly don't think like it can be a lifesaver, because a lot of it's not. Well, a lot of it is substantive, but it's personal. It's not necessarily this. Like a lot of us, I think, if you've been in it for a certain amount of time, you know what to do. You know the next step. Like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this, and I'm supposed to be doing that. But
most of the logistics of how to make it work. I mean, it's not rocket science. It really isn't.
No, I don't think so. I think it's the other stuff. It's the human element of it, which I've tried preaching in the corporate world for a while. I'm like, you got to focus on the people. Like if you don't that, you're losing, because that's where the value is going to be, and that's where your ROI is going to be highest. But
to be able to do that, especially in the corporate world, you have to acknowledge vulnerability and see it as not a weakness. And they want to do that in the corporate world, and people don't want to do that as entrepreneurs either, because they think that it's going to make them look weak. And to me, people who are able to be vulnerable and talk about things that they struggle with, to me, that is strength.
So true. I don't know, you guys can't, but it's like
authenticity is everything. It really is. Integrity, authenticity. Because reality is that, nobody's it all together. Nobody.
No.
And everyone says they do or acts like they do, or just in the fake till you make it thing. There's nothing wrong with that either. But, I find it more interesting. I find people more interesting. I find relationships better when you're vulnerable.
Totally agree. I think that's where growth can really happen. Is if you're happy with the mundane, you can pretend like everything's good and I'm great, look at how well I'm doing, and that's what a lot of social media is. It's like, but as soon as you can open yourself, that's when
real growth happens. I agree. It's just going to counseling or something. Like nothing's going to change unless you're real vulnerable and
just the therapist is as crazy as you.
It's true.
Well, it's like, how do you guys put the channel down below? But on Sunday's episode, you guys mentioned, we're kind of talking about how it's really difficult to be either a really good reseller or a really good YouTuber. And obviously for a lot of us, that's what we see, that's what we hear, so it's very easy to fall into, well, what this person's doing, so I should be able to do that. Why is it you guys feel like, and what is it that people you think need to do differently to recognize their own success?
Well, I mean, as far as the reselling versus being a content creator, whether on YouTube or other platforms, I mean, they're both, if you're going to be successful in either one, they are both full-time commitments. And it is virtually impossible to, in any kind of healthy way, commit full time to both at the same time. That's sustainable in the long term. So, for us, our reselling business and our place in the community is more important than the focus we know it would take to completely commit what we need to commit to be what is considered successful as far as content creators. And also, like I said before, where it is really important to me that I love what I do. And while I enjoy parts of doing the whole YouTube thing, it doesn't excite me or the joy to me that like my reselling does. So, I have to kind of like find balance. I think Vikki and I are both fairly aware of what it would take. We really wanted like our YouTube to take off and do much better as far as, numbers go. But we're just not willing to put in that effort because of what it does to businesses.
And what it would take away from other aspects of our lives. Yeah, and that's real. It might have been Kevin, Commonwealther, who said last week, we were at a different event, who said that maybe 1% of hiring you will actually be successful in the selling community. And there are thousands of them, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. If this is what you want to do, I don't talking to yourself. Go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead and do it. It doesn't matter if anybody watches you or not. If this is what you want to do it. Go for it. You could be that 1 million. However, don't think that you're a failure because you're not making it as a YouTuber. It takes a lot of work, a lot of effort, also takes a lot of unknowns, like, personality and algorithms and working algorithms, but and you finding people, finding the ability to connect to you in some way. Nobody has that, and that's okay. Maybe that's not your thing. And it's okay, but don't beat yourself up and be like, well, this person can do it. And they've probably put a lot of work and time and energy and effort into it to become successful, whatever that may be, as a content creator. And I'm not knocking that at all. It's a whole other level of work and requirement. But not everybody's going to make it, and that's okay.
The only thing that you care about if you want to be a content creator, do like YouTube, if the only thing you care about is hitting numbers and getting views, then I would say don't even bother getting into it. Because you're never going to feel fulfilled. It's never going to be enough. Whether you quote unquote succeed at it, you need to go into it because you have something that you want to express, because you have something that you want to create. And no matter what, whether you have 500 followers or 500,000 followers, either way, it's going to be fulfilling. It's going to be because of what you are able to create, and the fact that
you have to be passionate about it.
And you should be, and find just as much fulfillment because you only have 500 followers. What if those followers you change something for them because of what you have to say and what you say through what you create? Like, that's not nothing.
Mm-mm.
Like, if you touch one person and make a difference in their life, doesn't matter what you're doing to get to that point, you've done something good in this world. So whether that's a content creator or, you help home as you're walking home work, whatever that may be, if you're doing something and thinking outside of yourself, that's where the good comes. And like we talked about earlier, authenticity and that type of thing. If this is something you want to do and you're a content creator, be you, find your voice. Like you say, everybody has whatever that voice may be, whatever that message is that you're trying to impart on the world, be authentic about it. Because the moment you step away from authenticity, it might work for a little while if you have a check of some sort.
For each time,
it might work for a little while. But if you ever want to make lasting and connections with people in a way, you better be yourself.
That's like, for me, Gary Vee has said it, or there's other, tons of people have said it, but I think it's important, whether you're wanting to start your own business, be a content creator, understand what you're going to consider success, because everybody has their own, or should have their own version of success. And I think that's where, like, for me, I've always thought, like, we're all going to die at some point, like, not to morbid, but like, it's all going to happen at some point. So, and there's billions of us on this planet. So how are you going to be remembered? Right. And for me, I've always wanted to, if it's, when I was a teacher for a year, or whether it's being, helping somebody down on their luck, or just trying to just authentically genuine
be a good father, be a good husband. It's all lasting legacies.
It's like, that's what is gonna carry on, not I had this many subscribers, or I had hit this number of sales, or I kept up with this famous, content creator, or this entrepreneur, or, you have your own version of success, I think, to truly find success.
Well, you don't want to get caught up in your own value and your own success by comparing yourselves to others, because it's a trap. It's a trap. And the reality is that you should be looking to others for support, inspiration, not for benchmarks.
Totally agree. And I think that's, for me, one thing I'm hoping to do by having more of these conversations is have a voice, right? I want to normalize bad days. Like that's going to happen, but we also need to stop and recognize the good days because that's something we skip, I think, a lot. And it's, well, but I do better, or but I could do this. Well,
No buts. Just
but you did good. Just be quiet, shut up, sit down.
Celebrate that day.
Yeah, go, did something.
Celebrate that
you
moment.
didn't do before. So, I found myself earlier this year, like I started part-time reselling, probably 4 or 5 years ago now. And I went, well, yeah, I could do this. Let me give it a shot. And to think at that time that I would have 15K in like a 90-day period was just unfathomable. At first, I was, well, dude, if I can get $1,000 a month, man, like, yeah, that's awesome.
That's good extra money. Yeah.
And then you find yourself, well, but no, I've done it. I want to do
challenge.
How do I hire?
Yeah. So
I had to catch myself and say, well, yeah, but wait, for like 6 months, you were able to maintain a goal you weren't sure would ever be possible. And I'm still probably the harshest. Like we talked about, we're all probably the hardest judges or critiques of ourselves.
Absolutely.
I think it's important for that.
Recognize the good that you've accomplished, whatever that is, whether it's in business or in your personal life or, whatever.
And I think be okay
Get all the
too.
lights on the way to work. Like
it's not a good day. That's okay too. Like, you survived. I joke a lot of employees in my job that they're like, well, I'm here. I'm like, yeah, well, not everybody can stay on this earth. So
yeah.
What are you going to make of it? Each day we're not promised tomorrow, so go do something with it.
Life is short, and I think the older that we get, at least I can say for myself, the older that I get and more people in my life that I lose through the years, which is the normal progression of life, it makes me value the time that I have. And, I'm almost 50. So I'm definitely middle age, and I'm actually on the other side of this point. God willing, I'll be 100-year-old, but, maybe not. But you really need to value your time and the energy that you have to be positive and to spend it wisely. Spend the time with people that you want to spend time with. Spend time doing things with intention, whatever that is, because it really does go fast.
It does. Well, my philosophy as I've gotten older is the reason why is the older we get, right, the more we have to remember. If you're lucky. The younger you are, you don't have as much. So it's like, well, yeah, I can't wait till I get older. And the older we get, we're like, well, crap.
You don't appreciate those
like this.
Yeah, you don't appreciate the years that you had stretched out in front of you when you were younger. I guess that's human nature until you get past those years and you're like, oh man, I really miss my 20s. Or it's like, all the fun stuff, things. There's still so much more that I want to do on this earth. There's so much more that I want to accomplish and so many more people that I want to touch that I'm not going to do anytime soon. But you never know. Like you said, we're not promised tomorrow. So, just don't waste the time and days that you have. That's it. That's the bottom line.
I totally agree. I think I've told kids, along the same line where it's like, look, get it. I've been there. It's ironic that you're, as a teenager, I can't wait. I'm older. I can just do all these things. I don't have to listen to these people. My parents, I can do whatever I want. I'll have all this freedom. And then as an adult, you go, man, what happened to the good old days?
I wish I was eating a bowl of cereal Saturday morning watching cartoons.
Not worried about rent, utilities, how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to do that. I said, this is going to, it's that moment you always hear about growing. You go, you're just going to sound just like your parents. And then you just go, whoa. Because it's like, look, I know you want, but just, I promise you enjoy it last because I just want to go back to your age.
Yeah. And they're never going to listen. If they didn't listen, they're going to listen. That's just the way it is. But yeah. I think just appreciating what you have and you are at any given point is important. You're here, you survived another day, whatever that may be. You got to celebrate the good things and the little things. Important.
It is definitely. Well, I appreciate you guys sitting down. So Boss Reseller Remix, year 3.
Year 3.
October 6th through 19th, right?
Yep. Tickets are on sale now. I'm sure you're going to include all the links and whatnot for that.
Yes, definitely. You guys make sure you're there. I promise you, if you haven't been, it will change your business, yourself. It'll change a lot of perspectives you have. So
I don't want to say it's a life-changing event, but I also don't want to say it's not a life-changing.
It could be. It's undersell, over deliver.
Yeah.
So thank you, Katy. I appreciate you guys. It means a lot to me to sit down and just dive a little bit further in depth and talk about things I feel like aren't talked about a whole bunch.
I think this is a great concept. Thank you for asking us to do this.
Absolutely.
I think you're onto a great idea and a great concept. I want to hear more.
I appreciate that. It means more than you might know, but So hopefully we'll be able to continue, and eventually somebody will get something out of it. But
not hopefully, we're going to continue. It's going to be great because the right people are going to hear it. The right people that need to hear it are going to hear it.
Yes. So thank you guys for listening. Stay tuned for